Hi, everyone. This is Natalie Pace, and today we're having a community meeting about some of the cool projects that some of our team are doing. As you know, my goal is to add a splash of green to Wall Street and transform lives on Main Street. And I've been blessed to do this since 1999, but what is really awesome is to watch people come through the retreat, adopt a Thrive budget, get their investments on that pie chart formula, and how this frees us up to start creating the life of our dreams. So you're going to see a number of projects. Most of these people have been through the retreat, have adopted a Thrive budget, and more importantly, they have really cool things that some of which you can actually experience yourself. I'm going to let them explain it to you, but whether it's a catamaran adventure or putting solar on your own home or a Tango castle in East Germany or a peace meditation retreat with Tibetan monks in Italy, there's a lot here to consider. And I also want to let you know that another way to consider it is by going to our nataliepace.com vision, mission, and goals page. Here's what that looks like. So it's this page right here. And again, all of the links for the current people that we're featuring are here on that page. Now, if you have a project that you'd like us to feature, email info nataliepace.com. And the easiest way to get to this page is just at the homepage at nataliepace.com. You can scroll over that menu, and then you can find the vision page there. All right, so we're going to get started and we'll be featuring others talking about their cool projects. And I do hope you'll check some of them out. They're just very inspiring, but you'll also have a boatload of fun doing it. You're good to go.
Sounds good. I'm just gonna click away. Hey everybody. I am Alvin. I'm here in British Columbia. I've known Natalie for a long time. Met Natalie in Vegas, and so it's a pretty long story about how I got to know Natalie and then got to hear up here in British Columbia. I think I've been on a call with a few of you. I've recognized some faces. So I'm super happy to be back on. So what I think I wanted to share most of value is just a little bit of my journey through off-grid living and building. And I feel like that's where I could probably bring the most value. Obviously, Natalie's so involved with the environment and sustainability. So I think I'm going to add my two pieces here about just my journey in off-grid building. I've got a formal presentation and not a formal presentation. And I think I'm going to give you the not formal presentation. So here we go. There it is. All right. So I'm going to just kind of talk a little bit about my journey through getting to know Natalie and getting to this point where I have an off-grid house. So let's go backwards first. I'm just going to show you some pictures. And this is the off-grid house, which is located up here in British Columbia. And I built it about 5 years ago, and it is completely off-grid, solar powered, gravity-fed water systems, all that stuff. I'll get into that in a second. But I think what I can talk about is a little bit about the journey, because one of the biggest things that I come across is that people are always asking, how do I go from living in the city life to doing something in the country? And with 5 minutes, there's not enough to get into like the technical details of living off grid. But what I can definitely highlight is a little bit, just talk about what the journey I went through. And that I think can provide a little bit of a template or an idea of how to go from city living to off-grid living, right? Because most of us live in a city. So um, sounds good. I'm going to take you through that real quick. So here we go. Oh, that's me doing a handstand. Isn't that so weird? Like, what the hell? I was living in the city in Las Vegas. I was a full-time circus performer. Ah, there you go. I'm wearing a pink tutu. What?
You're not sharing the screen right now.
Oh no, okay, hang on a second. Yeah, yeah. That thing called Zoom. Yeah. Good call.
It sounds great, but
I know, I'm just gonna paint the colors here. Hang on a second here. And share. There we go. Okay. Here I am right there. Okay. So I was a circus performer in Las Vegas. This is what I did prior to building a house, and now I have a video strategy marketing company. But prior to that, I was a circus performer. That's me doing a handstand on some show somewhere in Vegas. And that's me wearing a pink tutu. Um, so I went from circus performer to building an off-grid house. So that's the journey I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes here. That's me in Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas. That's still me in Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas, me doing stuff and doing handstands. So anyways, all these pictures are to prove to you I'm not lying that I was a circus performer full time. I still am. I taught a circus class yesterday. No, that's me. That's actually on my Facebook dating profile, and I don't get very many hits, but that is I should probably change it. Anyways, that's me with my chainsaw building the house. And this is how it all started. So, about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, my ex-wife and I decided that Las Vegas was not the place to live to raise a child if our values were rooted in nature, sustainability, and wholesome living. I don't need to explain that any further. So we literally picked it up and moved to British Columbia. And because my parents live in a smaller city up here. So we came up to visit them, went out into the forest, met some friends, and they're like, hey, why don't you come buy 5 acres in the middle of the forest? We're like, you're crazy. And they said, why don't you just come here and move here for a year and see and find out? And we did. And long story short, we moved in with an elderly couple who owned 100 acres. And then we found out that they had a private piece of property for 18 acres for sale. And we bought it and we moved on to the property. Um, we sold our house in Vegas, took a chance, moved on to the property, and literally just plunked an RV on the property in the middle of winter. Didn't look like that when we moved. It was cold. This is my ex-wife. Like literally, this is how we cooked for the first 2 weeks because we didn't have the propane running, nothing was working, and we made a fire outside and cooked potatoes. That's me being a circus performer everywhere. And here's little snapshots of that journey. So in other words, I think the point I'm trying to hammer home is that a lot of it was not like smooth, and there was really no smooth kind of like transition, except that it was very memorable, and there was a lot of hard work. And we washed our clothes outside. We lived like it was like Little House on the Prairie for like a year, and we lived in the RV for about a year. And then what happened was we decided that it was time to build a house. So the first thing I did was install water, and I created a gravity-fed water system. And there we are, kind of like living by the fire. So there was a whole experience for about 2 years where everything was really off grid. The house wasn't built. We're living out of an RV, going through Canadian winters, heating water, melting snow over a big pot over the wood. So we would have bath water and water to wash our dishes. And I learned that a family of three can live on 5 liters of water. For those in the States, like 2 gallons, not even a gallon and a half of water per day. Like that's how much you flush in a toilet, like one time, right? So it basically taught me, living in an RV taught me how how little resources we actually need. It was like scaling down to zero, kind of, and realizing you didn't really need so much. So that was the first lesson. So if there's any lesson or value that I can share right now before I get back to the slideshow, because I know I want to keep this pretty short. The the biggest value or lesson that I derive from this whole journey of going off grid is not, and here's the question, I hate this question. It's like, how many solar panels do I need to like live like I'm living here in the city? I'm like, no, that's the wrong question. The right question is, what can I reduce? What is the minimum? How can I decrease my usage first? Not to decrease your quality of life, but decrease my usage first, decrease my dependence on energy, period, right? So that's the first question to ask. And when we lived in an RV, it demonstrated how little power, how little water we needed, how little resources. We pooped in a bucket. Like, I mean, like it wasn't the end of the world. We got used to it. Of course, I like having a flush toilet, but that was a huge lesson. So, like, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of how to build an off-grid house, obviously, in less than 5 minutes. But the number one value was when I started designing the house was how can we reduce energy usage everywhere from solar power to moving water. That's why the water system was set up as a gravity fed water system. Every time we turn on the faucet, there was no electric pump being turned on. It was just flowing down the hill using gravity, zero electricity, right? The design of the house was made such that it was simple. The most effective design of a house is a box. That's it. It's simple. And we did energy audits, and I tried all sorts of designs. Every time you add a wall or a corner or a different kind of structure, it increases surface area and you get more energy loss, right? It's really, really simple. Um, and one other example is we wired our house for AC units and AC electricity and DC electricity. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but it's two forms of electricity. DC power powers your batteries, your computer, all that kind of stuff, your cell phones, and that's the native form of electricity that comes off solar panels. And so we wired it for both, so there was no conversion from DC to AC power and then back. Anyways, that's I can get more into that later, but the whole point being is that you know the whole point is to reduce power usage and energy use. That's the first thing right there. So I am trying to get you back to my photos, and then I'm going to talk a little bit. I'll take one last minute to talk about. That's okay. Um, so the last thing that I could talk about here, I could share with you, is where I'm at today, and I know that I've talked about Natalie, and Natalie's been a huge advisor, I think, for all of you as well throughout, this for me the last 15 years now. Holy smokes. Um, and basically, right now, where I'm at right now is unfortunately or fortunately, my wife and I, we separated about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And what I'm in the process of right now is to buy her out of the property. So, one of the things that Natalie and I has helped kind of like help me construct a little bit is coming up with a bit of a proposal for somebody to co-sign with me for the buyout of the property. So I'm just going to leave it there because I think that there's a lot more information to go through. And I know this is a very small group, but you never know who knows somebody who might be interested in helping out in a project like this. So one of the things that I'm looking at in terms of being able to fund a buyout of my ex is to find somebody who can be a co-signer on the property for to buy out the off-grid property. But and the last thing I'll say is in terms of like future vision for the property, it's 18 acres. There's a house on there, and it's in a beautiful location here in the Okanagan area of British Columbia. And I feel like there's so much more to do for the property to continue what personally is my biggest goal. I feel like probably that will last me to the end of my lifetime, which is to be a steward of the planet and a guardian of the planet. And the best way I can think of for doing that is to live it. Like I could talk about it, I can like educate myself, I could teach online courses, but if I'm living there using the least amount of power in an off-grid house, I feel like that's the best way I can teach by example. So that's the main reason why I really want to buy out the property from my ex and help develop and continue to develop this project into something I hope can last not just my lifetime, but lifetimes. Because I literally built this house to last 500 years. That was the other thing. I was like, why build these crappy houses that you tear down in like 40 years? They're made of like cheap studs and drywall. And so I built my house out of concrete and I reinforced the crap out of my roof. Nothing will fall. Like it will not break. Like all the inspectors were like, why did you do it this way? Because I'm not building it to last my lifetime or my kid's lifetime. I want it to last like 5 lifetimes, 500 years. And why? Because every time we destroy a house, we're just creating waste, right? So that's partly my appeal or my request or like the thing I want to send up to the universe with this very small group is that's my ambition is to live it to give it and to create such a strong educational experience where people can come and experience and then they can be taught through the experience of somebody actually living it, so that they can replicate it in their own way around the world. So
So,
that's
Alvin,
it.
I think people need to know how to reach you. Are you comfortable giving your phone
Yeah,
number, email, your WhatsApp, do whatever it is? Like, I would also say it on here because some people are going to be watching it back. You can put
yeah,
it in the chat for people that are here live, but we're going to post it too.
yeah. I'll put it in the chat right now, and then I'll say it right now in case you'll be watching this afterwards. Best way to reach me is by email. So if you're just catching this part right now, my name is Alvin. I'm a circus performer slash off-grid house builder. Ah, it's so weird, but it's true. And my email is really simple. It's alvintam1@gmail.com. It's Alvin like the chipmunks, ALVINTAM1 at gmail.com.
Now, I think another thing that we should just say real quickly, I mean, obviously, anybody who is interested, you can email Alvin and you can talk more about it. And, it may be that you're co-signing, but Alvin, how much debt do you have on the property now?
Zero.
Alvin, is your FICO score any good?
Yes.
Okay,
It's pretty.
so these are
Yeah.
important things to know is that anybody who does want to become a partner with Alvin, you're coming into a property that is secured that at most what he's going to have to buy out his wife for is half of the value of the property that most people don't have anywhere near that much equity richness in their property. So this is actually not a bad plan. He's got a plan if, you just want to co-sign. If you wanted to be the bank and give him a loan, that's a different thing. So there's different options. The one option that he and I talked about before, I mean, clearly there are ways that he can just borrow money. There are hard money lenders, but a lot of those are really bad deals. And so, look, I'm not going to say Alvin speaks for himself. You can see that he is a self-starter. You can see that he has vision, and it's if this speaks to you, that's my endorsement about him is that I know that Alvin works hard and I know he achieves great results. And whatever it is everything that I've asked him to do, which he's done a lot for the Earth Gratitude Project, he's also a great director. Um, he does it better beyond what I'm expecting. So that I can tell you for sure. So you guys can reach out to Alvin on your own if you're interested in learning more and expanding it. Of course, you know me. I always want to build the manor house there so we can all have retreats.
Yeah.
Um,
That'd be great. Yeah, I would like to host a retreat on one of your retreats for sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
all right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here for just a moment.
Yep.
Okay, you should be able to record now. Oh, sorry, hang on. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking. And my place is there's the nearest major center is called Kelowna. It's a city of about 150,000 people. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes from Kelowna. From Vancouver, it's about a 4 to 5 hour, about a 5 hour drive. And then so from Seattle, add an extra hour, so it's 6 hours from Seattle. If you come up straight through Washington State, we're about 3 hours in, right from the border, directly south. So that gives you a few reference points. And like we're literally an hour driving to like beautiful Rockies.
That,
We're equivalent to like California wine country up here. This is a wine country, so it's beautiful. Lakes, mountains, all that good stuff. So everybody come visit. Everybody come visit.
yay.
Summer party. In your tents.
I also wondered if it's the house you're sitting in now.
It isn't right now. I'm living in a nearby city because my son goes to school here. So we have renters. So there's another place. Place is already rented. It's got rental income. Yay. Okay, back to you.
Okay.
And I run a sailing school here. And as part of the sailing school, one of the things that we offer is we take people out and do chartered vacations, where part of the deal is that we're also teaching them how to be able to do that experience themselves. And, I think the real tie-in with this and the sustainability is that um, being able to charter a boat and sail to explore a place is there's it's a kind of organic, sort of more natural pace to explore a place. You can't go as quickly as if you're going by train or by car, things like that. So you kind of it forces you to slow down. But also, if you especially if you do it yourself, you can do it mostly by wind power, which is something that in general on the trips that I've gone on is generally a true thing. We generally are kind of going out there and we're just setting the sails. We might use the motor to get in and out of harbor, but we're setting the sails and we're actually sailing from point to point. Um, and it's a very different way of vacationing. Um, one of my friends from a while back who did, I think, two laps around the world on their own sailboat. I remember the first time they went around the entire Pacific. I think they covered a grand total of something like 15 or 20,000 miles. And in the span of that, they accumulated something like 4.5 engine hours on their boat. So they basically had the motor on for 20 miles out of
Amazing.
that 20,000. Um, and so that's one of the things that I like to encourage and one of the things that we go for. So um, that's the long and the short of it. I wasn't able to prepare slides because uh, my wife had to take off and go help her brother in Colorado. So I'm solo this week with my kiddos. But um, if that's something that piques your interest or you're curious about, I'll go to the message and I'll post my website. And we're going to be launching a new website here probably at the end of the week. And then under the vacations tab, you'll kind of see information on these specific kinds of trips. And then also, if that's something that piques your interest, you can also just reach out and contact me and kind of ping me with questions about how to organize those things or how to set them up. Because they are super fun. We've had multiple different crews of friends that we've done this with over the years. Um, a number of them like multiple iterations with the same group of friends, like every 2 years going to different places and exploring. So it can be a very cool way to check a place out.
Can you just tell us some of the places that you would consider doing a charter, catamaran charter? Like, what do you think are the low-hanging fruit on that, and how big?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that um, top like the sort of the top of the list would be places like for a lot of beginners, I think BVI is a great place to start in terms of like uh, a lot of close islands, so you can do shorter sails and you can get more practice doing all the things because everything's kind of more condensed. I think for more of the actual like slow pace and experience of travel, Tahiti is sort of on the top of my list.
Right.
We went there with my eldest daughter when she was 18 months old. She's now 5. But it was kind of like it's a very Polynesian culture is a very like is a very different pace than our culture, and the islands are a little bit further apart, but there's just lots of little nooks and crannies to explore, and it's a very different kind of it takes you outside of the sort of cultural context that we're used to here. And then of course everybody goes nuts for Greece, and Greece is legitimately awesome. It's also the warning I give people is that Greece is a handful. Like it's not you gotta know what you're doing there.
Yeah. It's good because the time of year that you'd want to be there is the time of year that everybody wants to be there, right?
Yeah. Well, and it turns out that Homer wasn't exaggerating when he wrote the Odyssey. All of that crazy stuff that happens in the Mediterranean is real and it actually happens.
Oh, oh, oh,
So
oh.
that's the other part of it.
Oh, gosh, I had a good time when I went sailing there, but I must have just,
Well, yeah, was it a powerboat or were you sailing?
sailing.
Okay, yeah. No, it can be great. If the Melteme crops up on you and you don't know what you're doing out there, it can be a little hairy.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And you guys, I just want to show you real quickly that if you want to add your thing of what's going on, then just let us know. But we've got Alvin there. we've got his, hope it's okay. We put your email. Oh, it looks like I put your phone number too, Alvin. If you don't want that, let me know and I'll take it off. And also you can see some of the, him building his house and, the why of why they got there. Here's Matt Blair's link to his website, his email. I'm going to tell you a little more about the Simpson Inn. Susie's going to tell you more about the Gratitude Village next, and other things I'll tell you about here, Synergia Ranch and Sao Pema. And if Chris comes on, then we'll let him talk about his Tango Castle in East Germany. Okay, so any last words, Matt?
No, I think that's the gist, unless anybody has a specific question they want me to answer, but that's the
What's the
gist of
best
it.
time of year for, I mean, I guess it depends on where you're
Depends
going.
on location.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say most places have 2 or 3 months that you don't want to go. Have 2 or 3 months that are kind of like the best months to go, and then there's like wide shoulder seasons that can be great or not, depending on what experience you're looking for.
right.
So like for Tahiti, for example, May and June are great. December is great, like November, December.
Yeah,
Those are probably my two favorite times for Tahiti. For um, like if you went in February, you can, but it's the peak of their summer and it's just crazy hot.
blazing. Blazing.
Yeah. For like January, February, March, BVI is kind of top notch in those months.
British Virgin
Yeah.
Islands. Yeah,
Um,
it's amazing. And of course, you never want to be there during hurricane season, right?
no, August is not one's favorite time to be in the Caribbean.
August through November.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing also that I thought was kind of cool is he was talking about catamarans, and you have pretty nice sleeping quarters there, right?
Yeah, your typical catamaran is going to be once you get to 40 feet. This is Liza.
Hi, Liza.
Are
I
you feeling
see
shy?
you. Beautiful girl.
Um, so um, next time we do this, I'll have to put together a few slides with some pictures because there's a couple like great pictures of her as an 18-month-old in the bow net of a catamaran, just like having a ball of time. Catamarans, you get more space in a couple different ways. Your living quarters is basically the size of the entire boat in a monohull, and that's just the living quarters. And then you have your own separate sleeping quarters, which are not like massive, but your typical 40 or 42-foot catamaran is going to have four cabins,
Uh-huh.
plus possibly two little pocket cabins up forward for like if you had a captain and a cook for hire, that kind of thing. Which, those often just end up getting used for storage. But the point is that you have like all these different places in the boat where you can squirrel stuff away so
Right.
that your living space can actually just be your living space. Um, and so that's one of the things that's nice about catamarans. The other thing that I really like about them, people get intimidated by their size, and they are large. But for livability, um, they're often actually better set up to operate with just one person.
Wow.
So the way the controls are, and because you have two motors that are wide apart from each other, you can literally just spin them on a dime. They're super, super maneuverable.
Right.
So
And
it's
they're super stable too, right?
super stable.
Yeah.
There's less of the leaning over that makes some people uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons that they make for an easier entry into those experiences for most people.
Yeah.
Um, I like them for those reasons, and they're also, like I was saying, they're just once you know how to maneuver them, once you understand them, they're easier to work with than a monohull.
And you could actually, like, you could be the captain and you don't need a first mate. You could actually do it yourself, right?
I mean, you'd want one other person on the boat at least who knows how to handle some lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, my experience is that one very capable person can run a catamaran with at least just one other person who knows how to throw a dock line.
Now, can you just tell people how much experience you have so they know that they are with an
Sure.
experienced captain?
Yeah, yeah. So, I got my captain's license when I was 22, which was more than 20 years ago. And I was a professional mariner for about 12 years, and then I went into doing some corporate training.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been in adult education my whole life, and I recently bought this sailing school 2 years ago
Yeah.
after rebuilding a boat and doing a bunch of other stuff. So I've kind of hit this trifecta that's a little bit rare, where I have some depth of experience in building boats and rebuilding boats, and lots of depth of experience in operating boats and lots of depth of experience in teaching.
Yeah.
Uh, so on the one hand, I don't pretend like running a sailing school isn't a lifestyle business, but uh, it was pretty cut. It was pretty cut for me in terms of like skill sets.
Yeah.
I really love teaching. That's probably my favorite part of it.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, but there's a lot of I've been around the block a few times when it comes to running boats. I've definitely seen a few things, and I think more than anything, being in regularly involved in teaching
Yeah.
other people how to sail, I get to see lots of different learning styles, and it's different kinds of problems come up when you're teaching than when you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, um, I've developed a lot of experience learning how to catch those early.
So I just want to let you guys know, I'm always exploring ways that we can bring our community together because I do believe that, when we put people in the same space that are forward thinking and visioning and are trying to up level and get out of their own rat race and their own boxes and start new ideas, that it's a good idea to just get inspired. So I'm very interested in, a trip somewhere with Matthew and a couple of you. So if anybody's interested, let's start dreaming and we'll make it happen. Thanks,
Yeah,
Matthew.
for sure. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie. Um, I do have some slides. I'll just go through them quickly so we don't take too much time. But first, just wanted to express my gratitude to you, Natalie. There were three really key moments or key aspects over the last 6 or 7 years that I've been training with you that affected this vision. And the first one was the gratitude game, at the retreats that we play, and that's where the name Gratitude Village came from, is just the power of living in a mindset of gratitude. And then I think you call it the financial freedom game now.
Yes.
That that I couldn't play that game until we went to England 2 years ago, not this year, but 2 years ago on the first retreat there, and that was the first time I was actually able to finish the game, and so that's where this vision really got legs and got started. And then day 3 of your retreats, which I've attended almost as many as Matthew at this point, I think, um, where you're talking about sustainability. And so the vision is to develop an affordable, accessible, net zero community. I live in Denver, so right now the vision is in Denver, although, Alvin, we could talk, we might move up there. I like Canada. Yeah, so looking at using the co-housing model, which is uh, what makes co-housing its thing. There are three aspects. One, it's privately owned homes. They tend to be slightly smaller footprints than your average suburban neighborhood home these days. I have in one of my slide presentations a slide image showing the sizes of homes from 1790 to 2019. And in 1790, the average home was like 800, 900 square feet, and there were 7 people living in them. In 1970, the average home was like 1,500 square feet, and there were 3.5 people living in them. And now in 2019, the average home was 2,500 square feet, and there were 2 people and a head living in those homes at that point. So, it's not tiny homes, but it is definitely smaller footprint homes. The passive house certification that Natalie talks about in day 3 is something that's very important. So that's part of what we have. We're here, I'm talking about some of the problems that Gratitude Village is looking to solve, and it's loneliness. More than 60% of the US population is very lonely on a regular basis. Climate change and then housing affordability. And so housing affordability actually became one of our number one values because I realized I could no longer afford a house here in Colorado unless we did something about it. So we created a nonprofit in January. We've applied for 501c3 status with the IRS. That could take anywhere from 6 months or more. Right now, we don't know. We're partnering with some developers here in the Denver area to get this going. We're really in the pre-development stage. So back to co-housing, the co-housing model, it's private homes, it's your own sources of incomes, because it was originally brought to it originated in Denmark. I mean, intentional living has been around for centuries, but this particular model originated in Denmark in the early 1970s, and it was developed to bridge the gap between your traditional suburban neighborhood where everybody's garage faces the street and it's all street focused and you say hi to your neighbors and that's about it, and the commune or kibbutz, which were the intentional community models at the time. And so this was designed, co-housing was designed to bridge that gap. And so you have shared resources. You have your private homes, and then you have typically a large manor house or clubhouse. In co-housing, it's called a common house that has the commercial kitchen, the indoor and outdoor dining areas, guest suites, things like that, that not everybody has to have in their own house. Laundry room, the mail room is here so that the community has to come together to pick up their mail. So you've got the common house. You typically will have gardens, a greenhouse, other shared amenities that the community decides upon. But the other piece that makes it a co-housing community is the residents get to choose. I have a vision of what it looks like that's been inspired by my time with Natalie. Sustainability is hugely important for me, and affordability is, but the residents that are going to live there are the ones that actually get to decide. But the current plan is we'll be Passive House certified for the homes. The community and the common areas will be LEED certified. We've got the checklist and everything that entails to go through that. We've added accessibility because we have 4 main target demographics that we're looking at. We're looking at seniors, first-time home buyers. Here in Denver, the average age right now of first-time home buyers, because of the affordability factor, is 38 years old.
Wow.
So my daughter has accessibility because that is one of our biggest challenge areas here, probably around the country, but my research has all been in here in Denver. We are something like 60,000 accessible units short of what the disabled adult community needs here in Denver. So those are our values. This just talks about what LEED certification and all of that is, which you guys know from attending Natalie's events. But it's really about the intentionality of the design. Homes are designed so that they face into the community. The center of the community is all walkable. Cars are all on the outside. If there's even cars, there's a community that was built in Phoenix that's completely carless. So depending where we purchase our land, and we've got a piece that we're looking at, it's close to transportation and bike trails and stuff. So, you could easily live without your vehicles. So yeah, green spaces. This is a naturally filtered swimming pool, which is on my wish list for the community. Very cool because it's no chemicals. It's all the plants and stuff that filter it. It's like a giant pond. Some of the images that I've seen from Europe are more pond-like than that, but it's about creating connection. It's about creating community and sustainable living. This is our estimated timeline. Right now, we're looking at funding. I have applied for a couple of grants. I just applied today for what's called private activity bonds through our county. Our county is on board with wanting us to do this. They've steered us towards this 19-acre farm, which is an infill property here, very close to Denver, just off of Sheridan, if you know the Denver area. We'd like to begin construction in 2027 and move in 2028. So
Very cool.
yeah, it's super exciting. We've got lots of plans. I am available for questions.
Okay, great. And just everybody, Susie is going to actually, we're going to devote a meeting in June just for Gratitude Village. So for now, Susie, go ahead and put in your, contact information in the chat area.
Yep.
I'll let you say it on here as well because we are recording. But you can see that she's taking this seriously and has done a great deal of research on it.
Oh, I have pages and pages of research. Yeah, you can reach me at Suzie at Gratitude Village, and I will spell that to you for you in a second. CO for Colorado.com. So it's SUZIE at gratitudevillage.co.com. And I'll put the phone number here as well. It's 720-689-4821. And yeah, love to chat with people.
Thank you, Susie. This is exciting, and hopefully you'll have some guest houses so we can host a retreat there. I really, personally, as you know, I am loving, loving, loving the fact that you're also going to make it, that the cars are on the exterior. And I put in a few resources here for both Susie and other people that are interested in any sort of thing like this, right? Like Plant Prefab is a prefab sustainability, but he builds great houses. Those of you that have ever remember going to some of the Santa Monica in-person retreats, I took a lot of people on a tour of the first platinum LEED rated house that was in Santa Monica. And that's owned by Steve Glenn. Steve Glenn is the CEO of Plant Prefab. So they do really awesome, architecturally gorgeous homes. His electric bill is $35 a month, because both with the passive house as well as powering with his own solar. Also, other communities that do this, Findhorn. So any of you guys who are interested in community housing and want to come to our 2027 Restormal retreat, that's where we have it. See all the green space, big manor house. Findhorn is actually in Scotland. And in 2023, that's where I went. I always like do something the week before, the week after, etc. And that's what I did. And that's pretty cool. But also, this leads right into a group that inspires me a lot, and also the leading experts in a lot of these areas that we're talking about as well. And that is the group that lives at Synergia Ranch in Santa Fe. And I strongly recommend anybody who wants to do any kind of community housing, Susie, you included, going there. Also, another one that I'm going to talk a little bit about too is you might even check out the Simpson Inn. So Deborah Mendelson and her partner Clayton, they purchased this. I'm not sure exactly how many rooms. It might be 9, it might be 12. And you can go there and see how they operate there. So they think of it as their own little castle. It's very affordable. It's in a historic little old West town. So you get your Wyatt Earp on and check it out. But then there's also Synergia Ranch. And these are the people, they came together in, I believe, the 70s. They created a cult, commune, whatever, but they weren't into drugs or, all of the other things that were coming up in that time. They were interested in science. And so they started at Synergia Ranch. They built a geodesic dome that was inspired by Buckminster Fuller. They built their own ship and sailed it around the world. They now own a gallery and a boutique hotel in London, which is where I stay whenever I go to Restormal. Many people stayed there as well, both in 2023 and 2025. Then they brought all these scientists together all around the world. They also have a rainforest in Puerto Rico. They did Outback in Australia. And they came together and built Biosphere 2 and had 8 people of their community live inside a closed environment for 2 years, where you have to create your own fresh water, your own fresh air, and all of that. So needless to say, they are leaders in sustainability. So if you want to know how to adapt any of their wisdom to community living that with a low footprint, this is a place where you want to go for a week. And Mark Nelson is the guy that you'd want to talk about for wastewater management. He's a book called The Wastewater Gardener. Synergistic Press also has one on regenerative landscaping. So I would just say, I think you have to put together a small group in order to come. That's the only downside. I don't think that you can just jump in there yourself, but you may be able to. You can reach out. Sometimes they're hard to reach. That's them. They're still around. A lot of the group is still there, even the founder who's about 95, although at this point he might not be as accessible to you. All right, I want to show, let me see real quickly. I'm going to pause. Okay, I'm going to show you one other thing that's kind of cool. So again, I think the easiest way to get to all of this is in the menu, just go to the Vision Mission Goals page and then just scroll down and you're going to find the websites. But the next one I want to talk to you about is where I went. I'll talk to you about the Tango Castle, and I also want to talk to you about Salpema meditation. So this is a friend of mine. I think we can go to the English translation. And so she has a center with, I think it's about 15 rooms. And it is, I'm trying to find if I can see it. This is the one. That's better. All right, I just want to make sure that I'm recording. Yes, I am. Okay, back to it. Sorry about that. All right, so they have a peace monastery now. And the really cool thing, so this is where I went. I first went to Paris for a week with our fairy godmother, Suzette, which was a very fun time. And then I went to Milan, and then I went down to, by train to Milan, and then down to Puglia, Italy, to this retreat center. And she has two Tibetan geshes, so they are PhD level in Buddhism. They don't preach Buddhism to you. It's just peace meditation center. It's vegetarian because that's in alignment with Buddhist principles. But you can just learn compassion and meditation and even mandala making there. It was so peaceful. And it's very woodsy. So there's like even wolves out there. And there was some nice friendly dogs that I trained to go on my walks with me so they could kind of alert me if there were any wild animals and stuff. And, it was so beautiful, so relaxing. And I strongly recommend that if, just going and getting your piece on or your mandala on, this is the center. And I have also on my Instagram page, I think I took a bunch of video that you can look at as well. I think I even got the little dog in there at one point. But anyway, so check out on Instagram as well, and you'll see some stuff from both, that retreat center. I'll put the links in there in our, in the description as well of all of these different things that we've got going. There's one other thing I want to tell you about. And this one is interesting. And I kind of want to tell this story because it talks about how synergia and gratitude is. So some of you guys know that I like to dance tango, and I was at a tango festival and I sat next to somebody, and he and I started talking, and he said that he and his girlfriend had inherited a castle in East Germany. And it was really run down because, when it was under the former leadership in a communist country, it just wasn't taken care of. And so she inherited something that was in ramshackles. And he said the interesting thing, so he taught tango and he also taught sailing in Santa Barbara. And when the pandemic came, it shut him down. And so what he did is he pivoted himself and he started building houses, remodeling houses. So in other words, before he knew that they had inherited this castle that he was going to have to remodel, he was developing the skill set for it. Also, I know about this because the universe decided to sit me next to him in between the classes and the dance that night, because I was hungry. And this is how crazy the universe can be when you're on your path. So the other one that I wanted to show you was this one. It is the Tango Castle in the Making in East Germany, Liebsten space. And honestly, they're at the build it spot. So obviously it's going to take a moment to load. So I'll go ahead and talk to you and then we'll come back to it. They're at the build it spot. So obviously they're doing GoFundMe and all this, but if any of you need a break and want to go and help him build it, I'm sure you can work out a deal where you can provide a little labor and have some interesting times in a castle in East Germany, early stage before this gets so popular that we'll have trouble even trying to fit ourselves in. They'll be putting us in there in the winter when it's all freezing. But okay, so here it is. And again, you can see this is really going to have to be remade, but it has a lot of potential. It's got, as we would say, good bones. Castles back in the day that were meant to last for 500 years were built more like what Alvin has done on his property. So again, if you have something like that you really want to add, that you're super proud of, you're building, as you can see, these are all in various stages, right? Like Matthew has 20 years of sailing. He's ready to go. If you want to have a catamaran adventure, go for it, Alvin's getting ready to dream and vision phase 2 of his property with the perfect partner. And if you think that you can be that, then start having conversations with him. Suzie is doing the same. She's building her community. That's not something that one person does alone. So, hopefully whatever speaks to you, just start having the conversation. There's no harm in that, right? And I'm going to stop it there. Okay, so just as a reminder, if you have a topic, anything at all that you'd like to, this is more of bring us closer as a community, help us to understand more about what the expertise is on each different member. So if you have something you'd like to share with the group, email us at info@nataliepace.com. I certainly know lots of people that I would love to have them share. We have some expats that could share information on living abroad and all kinds of great things. So whatever it is that you feel you've really gained mastery of, then let us know. And again, info@nataliepace.com. Go to nataliepace.com, the Vision, Mission, Goals page, and check out the things that we talked about here. And if you think we should be adding something, of course, email info@nataliepace.com so we can add it. All right, I'll see you guys. And remember, we have a stock masterclass this coming Saturday. We have the next retreat June 6th through the 8th, and we have a real estate masterclass the Saturday after. But there's one thing I'm doing that I haven't done in a while, and that is we are going to play the financial freedom game on the beach in Santa Monica the Wednesday between the June retreat and the real estate masterclass. So we'll be doing that in the morning on the beach in Santa Monica on, I believe that is June 11th. If you're interested in that, let us know so we can give you all the rundown on it. I'll probably be putting up a flyer page on the website as well. All right, I'll talk to you guys again soon. I'll see those of you that are attending the Stock Master class on Saturday, and thanks so much.